one way to help them is if they all see each other, and then that would build courage.
Well, good morning and welcome to Chinook Podcasts. We are gathered here again today for an interview. And again, it's just Jamie and myself.
Here we are.
So, Jamie, you want to begin with a book review?
Yes, I do. I'm going to offer for your perusal a book by Norm Boehmer called Sons of the River, a Nebraska memoir. I've actually read through this book a couple of times because it's great reading. A fellow who is, I'll read from the back of the book, says it's a stunning introduction to the psychological meaning of rural Nebraska. Every geography emanates from within its own peculiar power of place. The essence of the Elkhorn Valley in northeastern Nebraska is captured in this book. It really is a good read. It's not moving along at a fast rate, but it's telling the story of this fellow who comes back as an older man back to the valley in which he grew up, and he's interacting with a couple of different generations of people. Anyways, it was a delightful book. Sons of the River by Norm Boehmer. Cannon Press put this out back in the about 2000, somewhere back there.
I think he's written for the Christian Renewal, right?
I don't know the answer.
Okay. I think I've seen him in the denominational newspaper of the United Reformed.
Okay.
So anyway, that's good. That looks like an interesting book.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got a book here that's entitled Against Christianity by Peter J. Leithart. I would say that this is one of Peter Leithart's main works.
Yeah.
And if you're going to read something by Peter Leithart, you should start with his book Against Christianity.
Yes, a Christian theologian who writes a book called Against Christianity.
Well, I'm gonna read the description on the back for a minute. It'll give you an idea what this is about. So, how could a conservative Christian, an ordained minister with a beard, no less,
no less,
be against not only Christianity but also theology, sacraments, and ethics as well? Yet, that is the stance Peter Leithart takes in this provocative theological bricolage. Seeking to rethink evangelical notions of culture, church, and state, Leithart offers a series of short essays, aphorisms, and parables that challenge the current dichotomies that govern both Christian and non-Christian thinking about church and state, the secular and the religious. But his argument isn't limited to being merely against. Leithart reveals a much larger vision of Christian society, defined by the stories, symbols, rituals, and rules of a renewed community, the city of God. Now, I read this in my first year of college at New St. Andrews College, and I would say that this book has been one of the most impactful books on my theological understanding of the world and the way that I approach piety from a Reformed angle.
Yeah. So against Christianity, but for the church.
Yes.
That's really what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And against, basically he's against a Christianity that is segregated from the world. So I love this front cover. I know our listeners can't see it, but there's a whole bunch of squares on the front cover, and there's a little.
It's the side of a tall a skyscraper.
Yeah,
glass panes everywhere except
one little window that has a cross on it.
Yeah,
and so Peter Leithart is arguing against a Christianity that's segregated off from all of human life, but he wants to present a view of Christianity that's big and that's good for the world.
Yeah, it really was a good book. I remember that one.
So his chapters are against Christianity, against theology, against sacraments, against ethics, and then for Constantine. So that's a radical book, especially if you're a Baptist. So anyway, I definitely highly recommend, if you want to get into reading Peter Leithart, I'd recommend starting with Against Christianity.
Yeah.
He's
That's
got a lot
idea.
of good books, a lot of good commentaries. This is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so today we're going to talk to Michael Clark. He describes himself as Canada's political missionary, and we want to talk with him a little bit about municipal politics. So he was up in Grand Prairie recently, and right now I plan to give him a call on the phone, and we'll be talking with him about politics. So
Yeah.
this will work.
Ah, good.
Hello?
Hey, Michael, this is Nathan Zeckfold and Jamie Souls calling you.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah, so...
Are we live on the air?
Yes, we are live on the air. This will
Awesome.
all go on the air. All right. Yeah, so anyway, hope you're doing good, and we're excited to chat with you today about municipal politics.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm pumped to discuss, whatever you guys got on your mind, and looking forward to this.
All right. Tell us, Michael, where you live.
I live in just north of Toronto, Ontario, in a city called Barrie, Ontario.
Barrie,
It's
Ontario.
about 45 minutes north of Toronto.
Okay.
Depending on traffic.
Yeah.
Yes.
In our area, everyone from Toronto goes up north, on the weekends. So, the main highway is, absolutely clogged on weekends and Fridays.
So it can be anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And
45 minutes.
You grew up near here, right? You grew up just kind of near, I think, Rexdale or something, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Rexdale, right by the airport.
Nice.
So I'm quite familiar with Toronto traffic and aggressive driving.
Yeah.
Not me. I grew up out in the woods in northern BC.
Wow. That's very different.
Yeah, there's a lot less traffic there. Yeah. Anyway, so what is your story? Can you tell us a little bit who you are? Just focus on the things that you think would be good for our listeners to hear.
Sure. I've lived my whole life like within pretty much an hour of Toronto. I kind of came to, my mom put me in Christian school when I was in primary school, and then our family kind of stepped away from the Lord, but she kept putting us into Bible camp in the area, and pretty much lived a pretty non-Christian high school experience. And about 18, I came to faith, and it was a pretty powerful transformation. Nothing really bad happened. I just was going, living the average high school party life, and just realized there's something missing in this. Why did I have all the things I wanted for a high school party life, but I don't feel good inside? And so I prayed one day and said, if you're real, prove it. I think I'm supposed to ask, Jesus in my heart or something. I don't even know what that means, but whatever. If that's what you want me to say.
It does seem to be. It does seem to be the case that the Lord loves a challenge like that.
Well, my next challenge was there's 2 rules. I said I'm not going to church and I'm not hanging around with Christians. So Christians were all these nerdy kids that dressed like Amish clothes and just kind of like really like they weren't fun at all, and church. Oh man, I just thought it was so boring. And I said, I'll try this Jesus thing. I said about sin. I mean, I kind of like it, but if you have a better way, I mean, I'll try it, And I was really just green. Like I didn't know all the words.
Yeah.
I just said, if you're real and you love me as much as they said in Sunday school, okay, like I'll give it a try. And if you know, this hell thing, if I'm giving it an honest go right now, so you can't send me there because I'm trying. So I didn't know you're supposed to end with amen. I just said, okay, go. like okay, like almost abracadabra, like, okay, go. And so nothing magical happened that night. I woke up the next morning and said, well, if I just asked this Jesus guy in my heart, I might as well at least read what he said. So I went through the house, found the Bible, and just kind of, I knew it was red words. So I just kept flipping until I found some red words. And obviously that was like probably Matthew 4 or something-ish. And it was like, whoa, halfway through Matthew, it was over. Like, as far as I'm in, like, no one talks like this guy. Like, they don't talk like this at school. They don't talk like this on TV or in movies. Like, and I was like, so the funny part was, I wasn't going to church and I wasn't hanging out with Christians. So I was like, well, I'll just like do what it says. So one of the first sections is, don't lust for girls. So instead of lusting for girls, which was, the high school way, I went to school the next day and just like looked down at the ground and just walked through the halls with my eyes down. and I was like, I feel a little better today. Like that worked. And then it was just, going through, trying to figure out this, I guess, Christian thing. And eventually, I didn't know there was different kinds of Bibles. I had a New King James Bible, but that's kind of hard to read as an 18-year-old, pagan kid. So I was like, how do I figure this stuff out? So I snuck into a church and I was like, I guess I have to go. I got to figure this out. So that was kind of coming to faith. And, I was, I started to really like it. And, then I eventually went to a Bible camp with Youth for Christ for high school leaders or something. And then I realized, Christians aren't that bad, and, I really enjoyed, I guess the word we use now is fellowship. I realized, hey, they're really nice people, they don't make fun of each other like all of my other friends do. And they actually seem to be nice to each other. And so that was like, we had a grade 13 at the time,
right, in
Ontario. And that was grade 13. And then I went to York University for business. And but I was way more interested in like this new ministry thing, I guess was the word. Ministry. So I went to Campus Crusade for Christ. And I was like, this is awesome. They were the most aggressive of the Christian campus groups. So I just really loved the zeal and the get after it, and kind of fell in love with ministry, and transferred out to Bible college in my second or third year, and I went to Heritage Baptist College in Cambridge.
Oh yeah,
Ontario,
I know people have gone there.
To basically, I thought, can you do this for a job? Like, I really liked evangelizing and bring people to church from high school or college. So I was like, yes, you can do it for a job. It's called being a pastor. It was a little narrow at the time, but I thought that's what you do. And I was like, you can also be you can go to Africa and be a missionary. So those are your two choices if you. So I went to Heritage and loved it. It was just to learn like biblical. And I mean, when you didn't grow up, I bet, when you don't grow up in a church setting, all those things that you picked up over the years aren't in your head already. So when I came across like the biblical interpretation textbook at Heritage, I think it was called How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth. It's like, there's different genres in the Bible. I didn't know that. It's like, whoa, like you got to read it different ways. Like the Proverbs aren't all promises. What? Like it just, it was, Heritage was just a mind blowing, and go through OT survey and NT survey. And then, so it's pretty, just rich experience. And, that I was in. I was like, there's probably 10 or 15 of us that stayed after class and, sat at the professor's feet for an extra hour asking questions and trying to work. Like, what about this? What about this? And just it really solidified. I'm in, and I want to do this. I want to, spread the gospel.
Okay.
So yeah, then after Heritage, so the thing about me was I don't think of myself as a Sunday guy. I think of as a Monday guy. So meaning I don't have a master's of divinity. I more think of okay, I listen to what the Sunday guy said, you preachers, and then on Monday, what do we actually do? So I also have a kind of I'd say I'm a hybrid business and ministry. So I ended up starting out of Bible college, ended up starting a business making Christian products. The way it happened was when I just became a Christian, went to York, all the posters that you could buy at Christian bookstores or the local traveling poster company, they were very bad, and even the Christian ones were kind of cheesy. So I also thought, well, wait a minute, I can get an Eminem or a Britney Spears poster at the mall at the music store. Why can't I get a Christian? What about a Jars of Clay and a Third Day poster? So to make a long story short, I ended up starting a company making Christian posters, and big 2x3 foot posters, and I started selling them into Christian bookstores all over Ontario. And we got into some of the chains like Blessings and Mitchell's. I don't even know if there are many Christian bookstores left, but for those of you that are old enough to remember a Christian bookstore, we started to get into all of them in Canada, and then what helped is I signed the top 70 Christian bands to their merchandise rights for Christian retail. So Casting Crowns, Skillet, Third Day, Jars of Clay, all those guys. Top 70 at the time, Kirk Franklin, and I thought, well, if I want to get into every Christian bookstore in the world, it would be very helpful if I had every band poster. And I was right. It just took off. And I had it for 10 years before I sold it. And as Climax, we were in every Walmart in North America. We were distributing to 60 countries, all the Christian distributors around the world. And yeah, most Christian, probably 15,000 stores approximately. I lost count, but somewhere around there. All the big U.S. chains like Family Christian, Lifeway, Berean, Mardell. So it was a great experience. Because on one hand, I was repping all the bands. On the other hand, we could just create our own Christian art. And in a sense, that was preaching the gospel. It was taking a blank piece of paper and saying, what do you want to tell people around the world? What do you want to put on the walls of Nigeria? What do you want to put in Lebanon? We were in Fiji, we were in New Zealand. We were shipping all the time overseas, and it's a great experience. Just kind of being excited about putting God's message in colorful, unique ways, and putting them all over the world. So that was kind of what I did after Bible college, and it was very, very amazing. Going to all the I'm 23 years old, going to all the big Christian Booksellers Association trade shows in the U.S. and just learning the industry, learning how to present the Christian message. Because we would see what would kind of, not that it's everything, but we would see what would sell and what wouldn't. So okay, people like this or they don't like this, and just learning how to get God's truths in a cool way. So that was really, and there's probably 1,000 stories there, but that was that. And then I sold it probably about 15 years ago now. And I just kind of coasted for a few years. I was a little tired after a big, business, and just kind of was like, what do I do next? Lord, just praying. And I killed time with getting an executive master's of business degree and project management, certificate, degree almost, and then a PMP designation, project management professional. Just really trying to get ready. If there was a word during that time, it was just get ready. And I didn't really know what for, but just make yourself more, add on more skills and refine. So that brings us to, I think that's the question I'm answering, right? Like, what's the story? Who am I?
We've been introduced to you as you've said of yourself, you're Canada's political missionary. How did that come about?
Yeah, so that's pretty much where the next chapter, if you're reading this in a book, you flip the page, and that's probably the next title, which is just probably like 2020 ish. There were probably, it's like a big storm where there's lots of fronts hitting at once. There wasn't one thing. It was probably, you guys know what it's like. It's like there's about 15 different topics in my head all coming together at once. Like things like, I don't like politics. I didn't even vote for 15 to 20 years, because I didn't like how politicians acted. It just felt hopeless. It felt there's so many bad guys and they're in control, and the laws are bad, but at the same time, I read the Bible, and the Joshua and Caleb spirit comes out of you, and it's like, yes, there's giants, yes, there's bad guys, but we overcome, through all the Bibles. You follow these Bible figures, and they just, even though they were in bad circumstances, it's like that after a forest fire, that little, the first piece of green that grows up through it. Like that's us. Like that's God's people. It doesn't matter how bad there's a forest fire in your culture, green will grow. So
yeah.
so these are things in my mind of like, yes, it's bad, but wait a minute, we don't have to. No, we don't just accept that. And then also thinking, after listening to all the Sunday guys, like, I believe it, yes. And then I believe it is our turn on the earth. Like, I'm now 44. Like this is my turn. Moses is gone, and Peter and Paul are gone, and Billy Graham's gone. They're not coming back. We're them now. We have to fill those shoes.
Yeah. So
stop whining, about the things you don't like. Stop whining about, these are the things going on in my head, right? Like, stop whining about the bad laws. And like I always show in my presentations at churches, like a picture from Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. And it's like, that was me,
yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way. You're a grown man, like, gird up your loins, stop whining about what the bad guys are doing, and be the good guys.
Yeah.
And so these are the things going on in my mind. So I guess like the first kind of getting into it, there was something called I was part of a group called Liberty Coalition Canada.
I remember.
And we were, that's actually how I got connected to, I think, Jamie and you, Nathan, in the first place. We'll get to that. We'll get to like my 13 church tour of Alberta last month, of all the the municipal side, but it was through Liberty Coalition that we were just basically like, no, we think there should be another way, to what was happening in the time, pastors being put in prison, and Josh Alexander getting kicked out of school, like, what's going on? So. Yeah. It was through then when I started something with a couple other guys called the End the Lockdowns Caucus. We were gathering politicians against the lockdowns, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And then I went to recruit a guy. I don't know if your audience would know an MPP named Roman Baber, who's now an MP. Roman Baber. He was in Toronto, and he asked me to be his general manager at the time. And we were organizing industries against lockdowns. This is like years into it. This is like everyone's pretty much done with it, And so Roman was one of the lightning rods in the country. People are calling, even though he was the MPP for Toronto, for one little riding of Toronto, everyone around the country was was calling him, and we were organizing police, fire, teachers, healthcare workers, doctors, salons, restaurants against, pushing the government back, allowing them to open. And
so you were kind of one of the faces, kind of secretly working behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't. That's kind of been my shtick more. A lot of people like to, get on TV and stuff. I'm more thinking like a shark in the shadows. Like I had one Christian, like top 3 Christian broadcaster in the country was looking for me online. He's like, I can find you anywhere. I'm like, yeah, I know. like I just don't feel a need. Like my ego doesn't need it. And I don't need nothing wrong with this is, if I say anything about podcasts, there's nothing wrong with podcasts or being on TV. I just didn't feel like I needed it. And I felt like I could just operate, behind the scenes so.
Well, yeah. You need people like that too. You need people working on every front.
Hmm.
Yeah. And, I think I'm more strategic and, project manager. So like, just, I listen to the guys that are in the news and then now go do it. I'm a Monday guy. So if I agreed with what the Sunday guy said, well, it's 9 a.m. Monday morning. What do we do? So yeah, we were organizing and then what happened next? That kind of just, petered out because probably because the truckers came and it wasn't a thing anymore. And then I moved on to another MP named Derek Sloan, who was organizing predominantly Christians to run in Ontario. And I was like, provincially, and I was like, this is good. Okay. How do we solve the problems? Where do we even start? And then as I said, different things were coming to my mind. I'd read things like, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain. So it's like, well, how can you do politics if you're not a Christian? Like, how, when I read the 10 Commandments, if you don't, it says, you shall have no other gods before me. So if you can't get there, I don't know how you're going to, if you can't honor who your boss is, the King of Kings.
Yes.
That's not metaphorical. That's not like a good poster saying, King of Kings. It's a good bumper sticker. No. Yeah. It's literally the reality right now. It's the present reality. Yeah. So, and then I'd read like, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So if you don't have the fear of the Lord, how on earth are you supposed to tackle the complicated challenges in a country and in a legal system? And what is politics? It's the rules that govern mankind. How are you supposed to do that if you don't even know the beginning of everything the Bible says?
That's good.
That's good.
That's good. We actually were just talking about that on a different podcast that we were doing, and we were talking about the like where are we supposed to put our feet in order to be effective and useful in the world? And our conclusion is, you really need to take Jesus seriously and get back into his church if you're out of it. And be a part of things there. We're called to build Christian culture. As parents, we're called to build that in our homes, right? We're trying to honor Jesus with how we do what we do, right? And that a long extension of that is political, right? But it's taking the simple things, the basic things of life, and extrapolating them outward. That gets you into political action and what do we do about things politically?
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Yeah, so I think it was right around that time when he was working with Derek and Roman and just and I was seeing with Roman how he was teaching me about public perception. You can shape it. It is actually possible to change outcomes and get what you want in a sense. and then he was getting partially things that he wanted. And then I had this was the genesis moment, the first domino to fall. I thought, what if we ever did this? Like, as Christians, I'm seeing the police do it. I'm seeing, doctors do it. I'm seeing restaurants do it. I'm seeing all these groups organizing, and it works. I was like, well, what if Christians ever do that? Shouldn't we be at the table? Like, aren't we one of the biggest? Wait a minute, aren't we one of the biggest people groups in the country? Like, why shouldn't? It doesn't feel like we're the ones at the they don't ask us what we think of the laws. It doesn't feel like we've been shaping the laws for a few decades, So it's like, well, shouldn't we be? Could we be? Could we have I read about righteousness in the Bible where there were some good times and good kings and there were some victories. I read about, maybe the 1800s or something, the Puritans or, Western civilization was sort of shaped on, I guess, Christendom. And, it's like, well, it's happened before. Can we have it again? Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, why don't I try? We got nothing to lose. If there's a scoreboard in Canada, it feels like it's 15-0 for the bad guys right now. So
yeah,
I'm not going to break it. I'm not going to make it any worse. So what does me trying look like? Okay, okay. And I thought, well, what if I put all those things together? And so if the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and unless the Lord builds the house, you labor in vain, then I guess that means not that Christians are perfect. They're flawed too, but that's the starting place. At least you have the beginning of wisdom. So I need to, I need to start organizing Christians. I need to, and at least that'll get us closer to righteousness, because we need to, retake the castle, the metaphorical castle. Protesting, I think, is for losers. And I don't mean like, oh, you're a stupid loser. No, I mean like you lost, you didn't win the election, so you're outside the building holding up a sign. Yeah. The winners are in the building making the laws. So how do we get in the building, right? Like, how do we take the federally, provincially, municipally? Because that's where you codify your morality. That's where you get a chance to say what's right and wrong, and then what's punished. So, yeah, these things were going on in my mind, and I thought, well, can I do this for a job? Like, I know missionaries usually like go to Africa or South America or something, but could I be a domestic missionary, like to the political system? I thought, why not? Let me try. I got an entrepreneurial spirit, so there's no playbook for that. I didn't have a course in Bible college called How to Be a Political Missionary. In missions class we had, or in, I don't remember that class in Heritage, but it's like, you know what? This is a good way to take what the Sunday guy said and apply it. What does the gospel look like applied? Gospel applied in your city, in your province, in your country. It just seemed like this weird thing. Like, there's this weird aura. There's this weird paradigm of churches not. It's like they get the heebie-jeebies if they hear the word politics, and I just don't understand. They say, "Ugh."
They've been beat over the head by it many, many times. That's why.
And I just don't get it. Like, I still don't get it, because I'm like, well, why don't you read your Bible? Why don't you want to take over? Like, what more do you need to see in the newspaper before you feel something in your heart as a Christian saying, "Oh, I better do something"? We probably should. It's kind of like if you have kids, and everyone has kids, has times when they walk into the room and the kids are doing something very foolish, and especially the men, you have to put on your dad voice and say, "Hey, that's enough of that right now. We're not doing that anymore." We're not talking about that, or put that down, or, hey, enough. I feel like that's where we are in the country right now, is we need to come back to the table and say, we're not doing this anymore. And my message to Christians really is, like, if you're not, because this was the message, I think, to me a couple of years ago. It's like, what do you need to read in the newspaper before you realize you better do something? Like, they're cutting off kids' body parts. Like, hello? Like, what? Pick a thing. MAID, abortion. Like, what's your thing? Pick a thing. Like, so
yeah, I grew up in the evangelical church. I'm pushing 60 now, but I grew up in an environment in the church that was expecting the end any moment now. That was such a big deal in the churches that I grew up in. You say, well, what's it going to take before you realize you got to do something? It's going to take a change of eschatology in the church, a change of what do you expect to happen in the world. It seemed to you self-evident that if there's all kinds of problems going on in the world, well, what can we do? What can we do to fix it? Well, let's think of something. Well, that was not at all self-evident to us back in the day, because we saw the darkness as a sign of Christ's soon return. And we kind of reveled in it. And we said, oh, well, that's good. It was sort of a quasi, quasi-pagan. I think the devil loved it. But that was how we thought. So there's all kinds of things that are undergirding hindrances to viewing things the way that you presented them, and those are things that the church needs to deal with. The church needs to be able to get to regain confidence in the Word of God, that Christ really does intend to win the world. That's his plan. We weren't taught that. We weren't taught that was his plan. We were taught that Jesus was coming soon to rescue us out of here.
And I've noticed that thinking often then subconsciously, no one would admit it, but it kind of subconsciously leads the person to kind of a bit of apathy.
Yes, it
does. They kind of think, well, it is almost over, and you actually end up becoming the one talent guy.
Yeah,
like you don't take it to the bad guys in a sense. You don't you back away, you retreat to your nice safe four walls of your nice wonderful happy church, and you have a great Sunday morning, and everyone's happy, and you have lunch, and kind of like, to hell with everything going around us. Like, not my, like honestly, I bet if you poll most Christians, or you get into their mind, it's like, do they really care about the things going on? Abortion? Not really.
Yeah.
Do they care about, what's happened to marriage? Not really. It's not my problem. If the bad guys are going to be bad, then, go ahead. But we're happy here in our, and I think of it more like, well, how about like, hey, Christian, put the book of Revelation down, you're a little obsessed. Like maybe
how we needed that voice like 25 or 30 years ago.
if you talk to someone that's just like, some people are just so obsessed with the end times and stuff. It's like, how about you forget when he's coming back and pretend you knew he was still in another 1,000 years, like, and get to work. Like, you don't need to worry about when he's coming back. Like, yes, it's a fun topic. Yes, we study it in eschatology and Bible college. Yeah, it's fun. But like, you're getting weird about it. And you've actually lost the calibration of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's really easy to lose the plot if you if that stuff is in the water. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to ask you on Judgment Day, what did you do with what I gave you? With your time. Well, I thought you were coming back soon. Like, that sounds like the one talent guy. Like,
he's the one talent guy. You're exactly right. Mm-hmm.
It's like, forget about it. Like, just like figure out what, pick something that you can participate in the kingdom and with your life, and get to work. That's kind of my mentality.
So I think here of Isaiah 49 verse 6, where God says, "It is too light a thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to bring back the preserved of Israel. I will make you as a light for the nations, that my salvation may reach to the end of the earth." So Jesus' intent in the New Testament, sending out his 12 disciples into the nations, is to bring that light to the ends of the earth. So when we sit back and retreat into the four walls of our church, we're being disobedient.
Mm-hmm. We need to be in church. Yep. We need to be.
Yeah, we need to be, yes.
The church
Yeah.
is absolutely necessary, but she must not be a refuge for thinking you're not supposed to do anything.
This is where we're going to sit on our
Can't be
hands.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think there was a subconscious like vibe, a zeitgeist in the church of just like, well, we got our thing, you guys got your evil stuff. Let's all just carry on. But that's not how it works. It's creeping. You know, either righteousness is creeping into culture, or the evil stuff is creeping. And now all of a sudden, you wake up a few decades later, and they're talking about taking away charity status. Yeah. They're putting pastors in jail. You know, like pick your thing. It's not benign. They will. I was talking with one of my pastors, and it's like, you know, if we don't outlaw sexual perversion, it's not benign in the sense that they're going to come for us, and now look at Bill C-4 and stuff. So it's like you don't, or the movie The Patriot. If you see the movie The Patriot, that's kind of a good example. It's like, if you see what Mel Gibson did there, he's like, no, I'm not participating in the war, and no, I'm going home. Well, then the war came to his front door and killed his kids. So I feel like that's what's happening now. Is you know, the church hasn't really, you know, been kept the hand on the plow over the past few, you know, centuries. What was handed down to us, and now the bad guys are like, yeah, you guys go play at church, have fun, go to the cottage, go play. We'll take it from here. And oh my goodness, they have, you know, and that's the kind of my ministry is in a sense is like calling us back to, I don't know, public square, getting back involved. So I can pick up in the story basically right when I decided I am going to become a political missionary, not even knowing really what that was, but I knew there was something there that you know, there was oil in the ground there, as you Alberta guys, you know, think. And I felt like of all on the smorgasbord of Christian ministries that exist, there was this massive, like, you know, you take like, you know, feeding orphans. Okay, there's probably 100 Christian ministries in Canada doing that. You know, I've seen so many advertisements for building wells, and you know, that's good. But there never really was a lot of ministries focused on this opening. So I looked at the time. This was probably summer 2022. I saw that there was a municipal election coming up. I was frustrated with. Did you guys ever see that podcast? I think it's called King's Hall. They have something called.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They had one. At the time, someone sent me one called Christless Conservatism. And you know, I was just thinking like, you know, like this, I don't even like the word conservative. And I don't mean the conservative party. I just mean the word conservative. Yeah. Because to me, all I hear when I hear that is take Christian values, bleach it, like kind of like you do with, you know, wheat bread to make it white bread, strip it down, bleach it, take all the God stuff out of it and just give us some junk food values that don't even really mean anything. And that's what conservatism means to me. Yeah. And I don't even like the word. So,
you know,
so I thought,
go ahead.
So then as I was thinking this, I was like, stop beating around the bush. Like just what's a Christ first, Christ centered political thing look like? So I just happened to see there was a municipal election coming up, and I thought, well, I know never before has there been more average people saying, like, you take a rural soccer mom, because, well, I'm not a politician, but someone needs to do something about those books in the library, for example. And now it's happening everywhere. And I was like, okay, I have a PM, I have a project management professional. Okay, what if I need to help? So I'm not running personally, but what if I helped? What if, you know, I could collect all these people that want to make a change, train them, and give them, you know, create like a fellowship of Christian politicians, and you know, see courage when they see each other. You know, because what's happening now is you might get a Christian elected on a school board or a city council. They're outnumbered like 5-1 or 7-2.
Yeah.
They say anything that's biblical, righteous, and they just get attacked by the woke mob. They get hit pretty hard, and it creates just a spirit of timidness. And I thought, well, one way to help them is if they all see each other, and then that would build courage. So there's no political parties municipally in Ontario. So I thought, what if I make like a fake one, a fake Christian political party, which isn't really a political party. It's more of a camaraderie fellowship group. So I threw up a website. This was probably early summer 2022. I didn't think anyone was going to join. I wasn't really connected and very well, and I was new and I was making it up. But then all of a sudden, it was for Christians only municipally. You had to agree to some stuff. It wasn't mamsy-pamsy Christian stuff. Like, the saying, everyone's a Christian till the Bible comes out. And that's very true. Nowhere is it more true than with politicians. Oh, I'm a Christian, Not really. You're not really. You think you're maybe a noun Christian, but you're certainly not a verb Christian. And so I put up a statement of faith and made them like really agree to some stuff they can't wiggle out of later. And all of a sudden, within like a month or two, 110 Christian mayors, city councilors, and school board trustee candidates, incumbents and elected ones, they all joined. And then people started joining from outside the province because at the same time, Manitoba,
that's awesome,
beat British Columbia. They were also having municipal elections at the same time. I was only thinking Ontario, but they started joining. I was like, "Can we join?" Okay, sure. And then provincial people and federal people started to join, and I was like, "Whoa, we got a thing!" Like I said to my wife, "Hey, this is a thing now." Like, so.
That's
we had
awesome.
a great time. We did weekly training and camaraderie on Zoom, and then we had a conference. That was a blast in Toronto, and 17 of the 110 got elected.
Wow.
And I was really excited about that and thought, wow, this is good. Like I don't tell them how to do politics. I don't tell them really how to do Jesus even. I disciple and I steer, but I don't. This is not like I'm the leader of a political party. This is just I want to help 10,000 Christians become politicians all across the country, and
to be
it worked. Yeah, and the prototype worked, and I think it's like creating good laws is a ministry, and I think that's a change that needs to happen in the average Canadian Christian's mind is. Stop thinking of it just like, oh, it's a civic duty. We're in a democracy. Like, I'll do my civic duty. No. Think of it like you can act. It's an untapped ministry because if you create good laws, they will bless the people. Proverbs 11:10 says, I think I got that right. It says like the city rejoices when the righteous basically are doing well and are ruling. And there's other verses that talk about like everyone grumbles when there's evil laws and stuff. So. That's pretty much how it got started. And then I just thought, well, why not do more? Why not spread this across the country? Why not work behind every election? And that's the mission kind of have been on.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting, Michael. Like particularly, I know that when you came here last month, you were talking particularly about municipal elections, elections for school boards, elections for a whole number of different things along those lines, and encouraging Christians to get involved that way. Yeah, that was that's fascinating. I'm watching in fascination. That's what's going on.
Yeah, and maybe you can repeat some of that stuff here, like because that is one of the things I've been interested in. I've seen Christians focus to some degree, especially on federal politics, maybe a little less on provincial politics. Mm-hmm. It seems to matter less and less to Christians the more local it gets, and I feel like it should be the opposite way around. So what are your thoughts on municipal politics? Why should Christians get involved in municipal politics? Why should we even care about municipal politics?
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't. In Ontario, the turnout's only 20%.
Yeah, same here.
I think partially because when I was growing up, like what's the school board trustee talking about? Like how many pencils to order for September? Like it didn't feel like ideological warfare. Like we're talking about kids changing their genders. When I was growing up, it was just, do you bring your own pencils or do we supply them? Like that's probably the biggest question in school boards. So yeah, why does municipal matter? Well, for a few reasons. It is often it's the junior leagues for provincial and federal. It's a good place to get if you are new, if you want to get involved, if you believe that there is opportunities for a Christian in politics to push for God's agenda in your country. Well, municipal is a good place to practice. It's a good place to start. You don't it's harder to just all of a sudden run federally. It's a lot of them get warmed up municipally. And I do think there is a lot of spiritual warfare, ideological warfare happening at the municipal level now. I'm not an expert at what, I don't have a doctorate in political science or anything, so I don't always also know what's federal, what's provincial, what's municipal. It kind of gets it's a bit of a gray area, but there's a lot of things being fought at the municipal level that I think Christians can make a difference. Even though it feels like a dictatorship sometimes, especially when Trudeau was, the prime minister, it actually isn't. It isn't a top-down. There is no king in the, olden days sense where it's everything from the top comes down. It's actually, Carney doesn't decide what happens really at, in all the things in a school board, right? It's almost like miniature kings, if you think of it like that. Like every elected person is like a miniature king because they have their little kingdom and the things that they are the boss of, and they get to control. So, the provincial people don't think, obviously there's some overlap. There's a Venn diagram, which there's overlap, and federal sets some of the laws and provincial sets some laws, but a lot of the municipal, you can set your own if you control, if you're the mayor, if you have a majority on the city council, or the school board trustee. So, yeah, I would say, I think Alberta's fighting right now provincially about the books in the libraries. Well, those fights were going on at a municipal level too, with school board trustees. Yeah. And the woke, whatever you want to call it, like it's permeated. Obviously, if you're following what's happening in the newspaper and in politics, it's permeated school boards. So, we need to stand with God's righteousness there. Oh, I say, or else. This is not optional. I think it's like it's becoming very bad. And you can, a lot of Christians take their kids and put them in homeschooling, or take them and put them in a Christian school. Good, probably a good choice. But remember the end of Jonah, when God says to Jonah, "But what about the 120,000 souls? Don't you think I care about them too?" Like God cares about the non-Christian kids that don't get to go to homeschool and don't get to go to a Christian, a Christian primary school or high school. What about all them? So I think that's an amazing opportunity to homeschool your kids and then go be on the public school board. Like,
in my own thinking, that's really counterintuitive, because I've been a long opponent of public schools. I grew up and went to public school, and I know long ago the indoctrination that I was given, and it's way more anti-Christian now than it was then. And so So my stance with regards to a school board is almost entirely oppositional in principle. That I'm opposed to these guys, and so learning how to control myself and say, oh, you got to work with these people. Boy, that's hard to think.
Well, it's just like being I don't know. It was like being a missionary in 800 AD to Japan, but it was a little similar. It's like pick a country. It's like if you're the first missionary to go there, it's dark, it's opposition, but perfect. Like
Exactly.
like where's the hardest place to go? Let's go there. So if you're sitting around and you live in Grand Prairie, it's like, well, I'm never going to Africa to be a missionary or Japan or something. Okay, well, be one right there. You don't have to go anywhere. Infiltrate. If I like the word infiltrate, it appears like sinister or something, but it's like, but whatever the benign version of that is, like, go be a school board trustee and be the adult coming back to the table saying, we're not doing that anymore. Why? Because God says this, because the 10 Commandments say this. So no.
And that's the thing. Like, you don't even necessarily need to agree with socialized public education in order to serve there and try to be a light for Christ in the midst of it.
No, and you didn't have to agree with however Japan's emperor was saying either when you went, to be a missionary over there. You got to go and conquer for Christ and take over.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you win, is you get to decide what the rules are. I don't know if you guys knew this part of my story. One of you guys was at my event in Grand Prairie.
That was me, Jamie.
Jamie. So one of my little dark secrets that I ran for Liberal Party leadership.
Yes.
And it's like, what? That's like becoming a school board trustee, right? Oh, liberal. Like, but it's like, well, did you want? I looked at who the choices were. I didn't like any of those. I didn't want them to become the next prime minister. Don't you want a Christian with Christian values that's going to, push for biblical principles in the law? Like, don't you want that? Well, the way to get there is to become the liberal leader. So go do it. So I ran for about.
I still find that very funny that you did that in a good way.
And my takeaway, and it was very difficult to sign up, and I probably coughed a few times, but like everything the liberals are and believe is my like arch nemesis of my life, right? But whoever is in charge gets to decide what they are and gets to decide what. So my takeaway from all that experience of running try to be a Liberal Party leader and the Prime Minister was, what if every Christian did something a little weird this year? What if everyone listening to this thought, do something outside the box this year for the Lord? That it doesn't, like, oh, I would never, my kid's homeschool. Why would I be a school board trustee? Exactly. Go do it. Like, stop. You're thinking wrong. Anyway, that's. Yeah,
I'm looking for that passage that I know I found in Isaiah somewhere, where the Lord is talking about the future, and it might have been in the New King James that I read it. I don't quite remember exactly where it is, where it talks about the word. It uses the word liberal in there, and it talks about how people are thinking, and in God's parlance, in that particular thing, liberal was actually a good word. And I remember that grating on me.
Well, liberal means free, right?
Yes, it does.
And we're free in Christ.
It does. Right.
So.
Yeah.
So I guess that was a really good word for them to latch onto and to pervert.
Okay. Yeah. And so I'll just share like what I did how it led to us even talking and how I ended up in Grand Prairie.
Yeah, please.
As I've started to take this, political missionary more seriously and trying to map out like, what is it? What is a political missionary? What do we want? What do we get involved with? Where do I spend my energies? I also, one of the other reasons I did municipal, like part of it was just pragmatic. Like in the sense, it's not like I just decided municipal is better than federal. No, federal is just really hard. Like how's one person going to really influence federally? It's get $10 million. What are you going to do? So municipally, I felt, well, sometimes it's half a dozen votes. Like that's normal for it to be a couple dozen votes that make the difference. So I felt like I could just have more of an impact there. And then when I saw what we accomplished in Ontario, I thought, well, why don't we just do this behind every municipal election? So for those who don't know, it was probably earlier this year, I said, I'm going to Alberta, like as a missionary. I'm doing a missions trip there. And I started to recruit, okay, let me back up. My goals are to have a Christian running in every race in the country, federally, provincially, municipally, and winning. And then once we get there, to calibrate the laws to biblical principles. So a great time to do that is right before, 6 months kind of before an election, because that's when people start thinking about municipal. Like people are always thinking federal, but people don't really think municipal until about, 6 months before. So yeah, I planned a trip. I went to 13 different churches in 13 different, cities in Alberta. And the goal was to seek the Lord on behalf of the upcoming election, to pray for the election, to pray for the candidates. Part of it was to recruit new ones. So hopefully someone will listen to all the things I say and go, you know what? Golly, I will do it. That was a good message. Maybe I should get involved. Maybe I should stop being Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh and stop whining about what all the bad guys are doing. And it was to convince people to run. It was to bring people that are running together and to show them off. So in Calgary, for example, we did an event and there's 10 Christians from all around the greater Calgary area. And they got to share their testimonies. Why are they running? What do they want to do? And people in the audience were like, I didn't know he was running as my, war. I didn't know he was a Christian. I didn't know this guy was, because often they feel like they need to be a little bit clandestine when they're running, right? Because they feel like, well, if I identify with Christ publicly, I might not get elected, right? But I say, brother, if that association is your downfall in life, not too bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And stop. I realized through this, there's thousands of Christians elected, but no one knew. People like, well, I didn't know my MLA was a Christian. I didn't know my MP. Yeah, because they're a little shell shocked, and they're afraid. But I say, well, what Jesus said? If whoever confesses me before men, I will also confess before my Father. If you deny me before men, and we all sang that song, right, in Sunday school and in VBS camp, of like, hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. So I feel like there's a lot of Christian politicians petrified and hiding it the best they possibly can under a bushel. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping with our ministry that they make them feel like it's okay to be in. Like in America, it feels a little more okay, but in Canada, they're petrified. So it went really well. We went to 13 different stops in July, recruited Christians. We tried to recruit campaign managers also, because 90% of the Ontario candidates didn't have a campaign manager. And that's part of winning and good strategy, I'm encouraging people that maybe are introverts that say, I can't be the mayor. No way. Okay, well, there's other things you can do. There's other ways you can help push forward. So it was a great trip, and Lord willing, I'm actually going to come back in September to do another 10 or 15 churches, because people heard about it and said, hey, come do it at our church.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's awesome.
And I'm fine. And what happens is you start collecting candidates, and then they tell their buddy in the city next door saying, hey, why don't you join this Christian group? And for the really scared ones, like, we don't publish the list anywhere. It's a private, so if you are concerned, I had Christians saying, I can't join your group because I'm actually probably going to win, but if I join you, I might lose. So,
right.
That's a reality. So we don't publish it. We don't tell them how to be, how to do their job. We come in as support.
Yeah.
And we want,
good.
I don't tell them what to believe on immigration or taxes. Like, no, we're here to be reinforcements for you, and you'll work out, well, what if there's different denominations, or what if they don't agree? Yeah, but I'd rather that fight be happening than what's happening now.
There's a man who just announced his candidacy here in town that I know is a believer, named Solomon Okafor. And you'd be interested to meet him, I think. I hope that happens.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I hope when we come around the second time that we'll round up another. My goal was kind of like 100 to 150 candidates. I think there's probably more, but it's just hard to meet them all and in all the small towns. I also, one other thought I wanted to share was, it does seem like almost impossible, right? Like, if you're doing Las Vegas probability, with bookies, like, what are the chances of Christians, getting on top of the ideology in Canada in my lifetime? It's like, probably not very, I'm not, who's going to put their money on that? But I don't think, I do think it is possible. And I think where there's a lot of power, untapped, like, kinetic energy, is within ministerials. So you think, well, what's that? Well, why? Well, what if, let me just give you a what if scenario. You take, so for people who don't know, a ministerial is like the group of pastors in the city to get together for breakfast and prayer, once a month or something. Well, what if we took ministerials a little more seriously? What if the riding had a ministerial? So picture, I know your riding's really big. I don't think Arnold Vierson's
No.
He has one of the biggest ridings just to the east.
You got Chris Workington.
Chris Workington is ours.
Yeah, Chris. So you take an average federal riding, for example. Let's say across the country, the average is there's 100 churches in any riding. What if those 100 pastors or the representative of the church, whatever, got together, and 100 of them said, okay, we're done with this stuff. We're done with what we see in the newspapers. Well, how do we change that? Okay. Well, what if you guys started to say, actually, we want to pick who the next MP is, or influence that, And what if you all got together and you interviewed candidates? Oh, you'd like to be the next Conservative Party MP here? Well, here's a list of 20 things. You're going to agree to this. Oh, you're not? Oh, that's not your style? No problem. Goodbye. Next. Kind of like Simon Cowell on, what's that show? American Idol. Because what's happening now, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
The new MP comes in and tells, I am your Conservative MP. Lucky you. Oh, you're a church. You will do what I say. You will vote for me and give me your fundraising and your volunteers, right? I say flip it over and say, no. We're the 100 churches of our riding. We are going to get behind. And from what I've heard, other groups are doing this. I heard from somebody that, Northeast Calgary's got a lot of Sikh population, and they get together and they pick who's going to be, other groups are doing this across the country. We're the only ones not doing it, So I see glass half full, and that if we ever did, I'd love to come back in 4 years to the next year to pull in Nathan. You took what I said. You had a meeting with all the pastors. Now you got Chris Workington, who's apparently a really good Christian guy from what I hear. So you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe the next MLA isn't. I met, I've talked to Nolan and Ron, your MLAs, Christian guys. Good for you. Lucky Grand Prairie. The rest of the country doesn't have that luxury. But you know what I'm saying? What if one of those three retire and the next guy, not so much, right? Well, I think we could fight back all across the country, federally, provincially, and municipally, if the ministerials got together and said, not in our city, not in our province, and I think imagine everyone did that tomorrow, every we turn the country upside down, because we do have a lot of influence and a lot of people. What do you guys think of that idea?
What I think about from the angle of the church is that what the church needs to be doing is the church needs to be taking strong stances on theological and moral issues. So the church churches need to be banding together and saying, this is what we believe about marriage. This is what we believe about abortion. I think the issue is that there's so much confusion in the church in these times, whether it's cowardice or love for praise, or maybe even there are churches that are promoting abortion. So I think the pivotal point for churches is fighting for sound Christian doctrine as well as sound Christian morality, and that will eventually have downstream effects.
Yeah, that's good. I also think because it's a representative, go one step further and say, well, you believe these things. Well, we like, your specific church would like a representative, so it's like, maybe you send Jamie or something, or one of your other guys to the, to the political ministerial in a sense. And you say, well, we've established what our theological positions are. Now we want someone to lobby for that in our country. Right. And that's where you lean on the MLA or the MP or the mayor and say, oh, you want our 100 churches support, versus we just have to give it to them because they are the conservative or the UPC or, whatever. You say, well, here's what we want. And you push them to, lobby. That's what they're supposed to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
as a prep toward doing that sort of thing, it might be worthwhile for a church to sit down and write out, what do we believe about this? What do we believe about that? So that we have a statement that we could say, okay, well, I want to present this to your church and see if you could agree to this, and if you do, well, let's go find some others that do.
Yeah,
also.
and we as churches, we have exquisite, word crafted doctrinal statements.
Yeah, we do.
Over centuries. It's beautiful. It's their life work to I hear them all the time. 16 whatever this and this confession and this. I hear all that's great. Now apply it right now. What that look like, and maybe the next step is take those amazing doctrinal statements, turn them into a political doctrinal statement. What do you want for Canada? What is our version? Like, I realize,
that's a good idea.
A bit of a long shot, but imagine you could have some, I don't know, in 300 or 800 they had councils of different. Well, why aren't we doing that? Why not have every pastor in the country, get together somewhere and lock the doors? No one leaves until we leave with a new Magna Carta. With a new. This is what we all have. We are staying for a week. We're staying for a month. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares how long we stay, guys? That country's going to hell in a handbasket. We all need to come together and create a document that this is what we want.
Yeah.
We don't know what we want.
That is what happens.
We're good at complaining. We're good at whining what we don't like. But why don't we get 100 Christian lawyers together in that room with all the pastors? Say, sit down, scribe this out. Let's work this out. what is our new constitution? We need to restart the whole country. Like we need a brand new document. I think that is a new I don't know the right words, but constitution or Bill of Rights or whatever. We need to start at zero, come out with a document. Maybe it's 20, maybe it's 1 page, maybe it's 20 pages, maybe it's every law in the country rewritten. What do Christians want? And then we say this is what we want, and we can get agreement. Which, Jamie, if you're at my event, you heard me say this, but like, I know that sounds impossible because it probably is easier to organize Mexican drug cartels than it is to organize and get two different kinds of Christians in a city to work together.
Yes.
I got some Lutheran friends, and even in like, you say, okay, we're a Lutheran church. Well, which one? There's 7 different kinds in Canada, right? Like, I've heard Reformed guys, it's a similar situation. Is this Reformed? So like, they don't. Everyone thinks they kind of do Christianity the right way, like, well, our version's the kind of real one and the one we should be doing. The problem is everyone believes that. So it's difficult. Like I said, the Mexican drug cartels. I watched Narcos on what's that? Netflix.
Yeah.
And season 2 was about Mexico, and I felt very similarities of like, all these drug cartels were killing each other and didn't like each other. One guy comes along and says, if we work together and stop killing each other, we could actually take over the country and fight the Colombians and win the drug war. Well, flip that to the good guys. It's like, there's all these denominations. If we could just stop, we're not going to solve all our theological differences, but if we could have an alliance that could productively create, we want this. Now we all fight for that together. We would take over the country in 24 hours, I think. So, just an idea.
Well, we need.
I like thinking of solutions. Go ahead. Yeah.
We need to have a sense of mere Christianity again. That these are the basic doctrinal building blocks for Christianity, and then these are also the basic moral sense of morality that the Bible has established that all Christians hold in common. Mm-hmm. But I think that's been one of the issues in the last 50 to 75 years in Canada is, first of all, theological liberalism has destroyed so many mainline churches, and then that's been followed by moral chaos.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that the churchmen who apostatized, who went left, who did these things, they didn't see it coming. I don't think they saw the perversity coming that has come, but it's there, and it's everybody's favorite perversity in the land is it's always theological in its orientation. It always is. People who believe in abortion, they call that a political issue. It's a theological issue.
Yes.
Is there a person there made in the image of God or not? That's a theological question. That's not a political question. And so there's lots and lots of learning that we have to do. We've got to. There's a lot of things that need to be figured out for the church at large, and for the church at large to actually talk with one another. That'd be an interesting scenario.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of revival and reformation that has to happen.
There is.
So,
yeah, and I don't, definitely am not oversimplifying, like, how difficult what I'm saying is going to be. I'm just saying that is what we need. That if you want to have change, then how do we get to the goal that we want?
Yeah.
Which is biblical principles in our country. Well, I took a page from what I learned with Roman is organize. We're the best in the world at micro-organizing. Like the church, no one beats us. We're the best micro-organizing. All these little pockets called churches all over the city, right? No one's better than us. We're the worst in the world at macro-organizing. Like From Care Bears when they do a Care Bear stare together at something, like we don't do that. And if we ever could, I think you'd be like, oh, this actually works. So yeah, we're the worst in the world at macro organizing, and I think that there's some oil in the ground there. If we were to have like a solutions conference, I'm kind of sick of most podcasts, and I'm sick of most conferences because, no offense, I've never listened to your guys, so maybe you guys are really good. This is not used to it's generally. Because it's all about the problem. Yeah, I know. I agree. I get it. It's bad. Let's have a solutions conference. I only want to go to things that are talking about solutions now, and they may be hard to achieve, but like how do we manufacture our way out of this? And one of the programs I'm manufacturing is something, I think Jamie heard it. It's called the David and Goliath program. So I think what do you do when you're losing in professional sports? You go to the junior league, you go to the draft, right? I don't know. Yes, we have some Bible colleges. Yes, we have some, isolated things happening, anecdotes kind of around the country, but there's no like junior leagues of Christianity. So I want to create something called the David and Goliath program, which is I'm working with other organizations to build, which is going to be identifying the youth in our youth groups with ideological promise that maybe 13 to 19-ish, give or take, maybe we get 14, 18, whatever. Mm-hmm. But we identify the kids in our youth group that don't just want to play video games on Tuesday night at youth, or go for the fun parts in VBS camp or Bible camp. Those are all good, but we are not noticing the youth that could have exceptional talent. So what I want to do is take Christian politicians, Christian lawyers, Christian advocates, Christian, different ideological areas, and identify these kids and give them a stream they can sign up to. If you're 14, I tell a story. My daughter was, she was 14. I went into a room one day and I thought she was watching a basketball game or something, or playing Roblox. She was getting all excited. I'm like, what are you doing? She's watching Question Period at the House of Commons, cheering for the...
That's really funny.
She's literally cheering for the good guys, and I hear her mocking. I'm like, what is that strange noise? I hear her scream out, Mr. Speaker! Like she was mocking that lady in the Liberal,
That's really funny.
And like she was into it like it was the NBA Finals, the Raptors or something.
Awesome.
And I was like, right there. It's just yes, it's my daughter, but right there, that's the kind of person. Why aren't we finding 14-year-olds?
Yeah,
Dad, I want to argue. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're in the church. We're really trying to identify, in our children in the church. We want to see what these people are good at. We want to be able to cultivate that sort of thing. The church has been better at doing that, looking for pastors, than she has looking for politicians. Yeah. But that's something that we need to keep our eyes open for, right?
Yeah. Who are you guys discipling right now? You've marked as the next mayor of Grand Prairie in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good question.
If I ask that question every church in the country, I don't think I'd be surprised if anyone said, "Oh yeah, here's the next MP." Here now, I understand I'm just saying generally. Imagine if we did do that. Imagine we like you said, we do that well with picking future pastors. Why don't we spend 10 years developing the next MP?
Well, the church is often presented in Scripture as a mother. So if the church is a mother, then she plays that nurturing role to the children and the youth of her church. And what does the mother do in Proverbs? Well, she raises up a son who becomes a mighty king. And he, so Proverbs 31, it's actually talks just as much about the Proverbs 31 woman as the Proverbs 31 king. So the church as a mother should be speaking to her sons like that mother speaks to her son in Proverbs 31, calling them to be kingly in their behavior. Even if they don't go into politics, they should be kingly in their behavior. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, we're raising kings in the bosom of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why not?
That's good.
You know, I don't. What am I missing? Like, why wouldn't we be interested as Christians in? And then, you know, at the same time, we have, you know, we see the legal. You know, I was helping a guy named, I don't know if you guys, the story came out all the way there, but there's a kid named Josh Alexander.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yes.
Who got kicked out of school in Ontario, a Catholic school, for saying, you know, he made a protest against trans guys using the girls' bathroom and he just said God made them male and female, and he got expelled.
Yeah.
So it's like, and James Kitchen was our in-house lawyer, and I brought Josh in and said, we need to help this guy. And a year later, I thought, well, why don't we do more walkouts? And just like Josh did, get all the kids watching, going, oh, wow, I like watching this Josh Alexander show on TV. You know, look at him. Oh, it's so cool. Look how brave he is. Well, no, now you're Josh Alexander. So let's have a walkout in every school in the country. Mm-hmm. Now, you didn't see it on CBC, but probably 200 schools walked out that day.
Wow.
And but right before that, I went to James, our lawyer. I said, so I got this idea, like, let's get another 100 kids kicked out of school, and you're going to represent them all, okay? He said, no. He goes, absolutely not. I can't represent 100 more people. And he said, and the problem is there isn't even enough Christian lawyers in the country that would represent a case like this. So I thought, oh boy, well, what's the big deal? Let's just make 100 new Christian lawyers. So part of the David and Goliath program, like, yes, there's a political stream, but we also need a legal stream. They're kind of cousins, right? Politics and law. Mm-hmm. So we need to be systematically developing and discipling and manufacturing hundreds, like, of new lawyers. And so we have a bunch of different streams. That's what one of the other projects I'm working on is to do that in every province. Take the existing guys, give them mentors with the wannabes, you know, so take a retired MP maybe, he takes a group of 6 and develops them over a couple of years. And, you know, we give them homework and they have to get involved in things and really become, maybe through that, I develop new political missionaries, right? That they can do this for a job. You know, I want to help youth become like part-time missionaries. Josh was on Tucker Carlson one night, Josh Alexander, and the next night he's flipping burgers for minimum wage. And it's like, well, what if we could take these youth, instead of working at Pizza for a part-time job, you become a missionary at 17, at 16. Why not? Why not raise some support for whatever Pizza was going to pay you, get a bit of a budget and under, obviously, like, discipleship and parenting and pastoral, but we're an incubator for these guys that maybe say, hey, you know what, I'd like to be the mayor of Edmonton or an MLA in Calgary or, you know, a school board trustee. Anyway, that's one of the programs.
Okay, well.
And hopefully fast forward 50 years, it's working. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? You seem to be a really good ideas guy, and I'm really thankful for this conversation we've been able to have here. How do people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you? How do they get hold of you if they want to talk to you about political involvement, about the sort of pursuits that are going to wind us up with Christian laws rather than non-Christian ones? How do people get a hold of you?
They can email info@christianimpactnetwork.com. that gets to our office and might trickle to me. I'm pretty inundated with new people. After Alberta, I think I met probably thousands of new people. But I'm trying to triage people into, for example, if you want to be a candidate, right? Like we have a funnel for that,
right?
And we'll help you with that. If you want to donate, it'll go right to me. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, you want to what? No, we do need that. Like we're running on fumes a little bit because, there's just so many things we're working on that, but yeah, donations are great. If you say you're a pastor and you're like, hey, come do this event you're coming back to Alberta. Great. Why don't you do it at our church? On a Tuesday night or a Thursday night, we'll put on a 2-hour event. And
I bet you the next time you come to Grand Prairie, I bet you we'll be able to accommodate you better than what we were before, because they were working on changing the rugs and doing all kinds of stuff like that. Didn't have any idea when they were going to be done in this church. So do talk to us the next time you arrange for coming out here.
Definitely. I'll definitely come back and I think what happened was the first time was like people like, well, we'll give them a chance, but we're not really sure what to expect. So they didn't really go all out and maybe spread the word. But then some pastors I've heard like, wow, that was really like what you put on that night was really good. And we had MLAs speak. We had about 5 or 6 Christian MLAs. We had multiple MPs come out with their Christian share. We had dozens of municipal mayors, councilors, school board trustees share all over the province. So like we put on a good event, and I think it was very inspiring. You were at the Grand Prairie one. I think it was. So I think the second time we come, it'll be people like, oh yeah, they will feel a little more free to invite people.
Right.
If you're pastor, you can email us there, info@christianimpactnetwork.com. If you want to volunteer, say you're a lawyer and you're like, I like what he just said. How do I might mentor, a bunch of Christians. I'll come speak at the the event and help Christian, wannabe Christian lawyers. Yeah, just email us. If there's anything that we said that sparked it, you want to be a political missionary in Grand Prairie and work with us, and help us organize. I'd like to within a year have 100 missionaries all across the country, implementing what the Sunday guy said, so that's how people can reach
excellent
us. And
okay, well, it's been a delight to have you on, Michael, and the Lord bless you in all your labors in this. We proclaim a gospel in which Christ is Lord and he's Lord of everything. And so, so we're really interested to hear from you along these lines. And so thanks very much for joining us for this conversation. I hope that this was going to be valuable for you and for us as well. So blessings to you, our friend. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for having me on. And I hope, I think we all hope that somebody listening, goes, yeah, I want to do that now. So hopefully that
wouldn't that be
spreads
great?
through Grand Prairie and across your network.
Okay.
All right,
Michael. Well, blessings to you. I hope you have a good day today. The Lord be with you.
Talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
blessings.
We are the Chinook Podcast. Nathan Zekveld and Brad Donovan and Jamie Souls. It's been a delight for us to be able to host this conversation with you and with Michael Clark from the Christian Impact Network. We want to wish God's blessings upon you and that you would walk faithfully and uprightly with God.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.